Men seek women with these green flags. The man will want to give you everything if you lead off with these green flags. Well, we're going to dive into this conversation today. And I want to start off by saying that not every man is a train wreck. Good men do exist. I know it doesn't feel that way because the vast majority of human beings are suffering on some level, either emotionally from a childhood wound or an adult trauma from a romantic sense. Let me repeat that. Most humans are actually suffering a little bit from a childhood wound or adult trauma from a romantic sense, because the reality is relationships are not for the faint of heart. The journey of love is not a destination, but it's not about romantic love either. Okay, that's my interpretation. You have to decide that for yourself, because I believe this true journey to love is about self-love first. Now, we have to recognize, if you're most likely, if you're watching this channel, you're seeking advice from a romantic love perspective. And I think these green flags I'm about to share with you in a moment will make total sense, but this is for yourself. This is not about the man, even though when you achieve this for yourself, most likely when you are with the right man, he'll want to give you everything when you embrace and embody what I believe is something that brings us peace in our world. Now, I want to differentiate between love that I believe is a choice versus love attachment. If you're not familiar with something known as love attachment, I want you to write that down. I want you to put it in YouTube because you're going to want to learn this. But for my regulars that know about love attachment, I just want to remind everyone to read the book Attached by Amir Levine and Rachel Heller. And I want to read the subtitle. Are you anxious, avoidant, or secure? How the science of adult attachments can help you find and keep love. Let me repeat that. How the science of adult attachments can help you find and keep love. See, I believe the majority of us has experienced what's known as an insecure attachment with another human being. Now, earlier I just shared that there's anxious, avoidant, and secure. Well, there's primarily two attachment styles. There's secure and insecure. And within insecure, there's anxious, preoccupied, fearful avoidant, and dismissive avoidant. Now, I'm not going to give you a tutorial on this, but I'm only pointing this out because I believe many of us, myself included, have experienced insecure love, meaning an insecure attachment to another human being, believing that it's love. Now, if you're like me, which many women are, they are known as anxious. That's those of us that are needy. We're people pleasers. We often give more. We give to get love from another human being. And we have a propensity to attract emotional avoidance, people that avoid intimacy. They avoid closeness. That doesn't mean that they're completely devoid of intimacy or closeness. Did you hear that? It doesn't mean that they're devoid of intimacy and closeness. It's just that they struggle with intimacy and closeness, and it's very difficult for them. So those that can relate to what I'm sharing with you, and I know there's plenty of women who are avoidant as well, but for those of us who are anxious, and I just happen to know I'm an anxious, I chase love from another human being because I was lacking it within myself. I was lacking it in myself. Versus being secure within yourself, being at peace with yourself, being in a state of self-love. And if you haven't read my book, What the Heck is Self-Love Anyway? A Journey of Personal Development, Self-Help, and Spiritual Work, there's a link below to get a copy of my book. I highly recommend reading this. And by the way, it's a very simplistic version to reaching this state. Because when we, there is a saying, how can we love another if we don't love ourselves? Now, I believe loving ourselves is a work in progress or work in process. Which one is it? Process or progress? By the way, these are my Sunday videos. My coffee mug says, swear a little, you'll feel better. This is where I actually do my PG version and I don't curse. Many of you have criticized me for my cursing, but I just want to say you'll feel better if you do. Anyway, coming back to this conversation of love is a choice. I think when a person does inner work on themselves, when a person does some level of personal development, self-help, spiritual work, or therapy, they begin to create a foundation for themselves. In other words, the ground underneath them feels solid. And I'm going to share with you some aspects of this because it represents the green flags I'm talking about. See, I know many of you are out in the dating marketplace and you're suffering because there are some deeply emotionally wounded people who have had traumatic childhoods or had adult experience that can be very traumatic, or even they lost a spouse. And as much as we human beings want companionship, we want connection, we want physical intimacy with someone, it's actually scary to open up to another human being because whether we like it or not, romantic love comes with it emotional responsibility, meaning caring for another person is outside of yourself. There's a responsibility when you genuinely care for someone and you care about their feelings. That can feel emotionally overwhelming for some people. There's certainly physical responsibility. Spending time with another human being requires making effort in that capacity. And we have this grand expectation that love should just be angels singing, oh, sunshine and rainbows. And because of that fantasy based, we oftentimes miss out on great opportunities because many of us, myself included, have chased the high of love, that lust or limerence, and we never reach that place of genuine love with another human being. And in many cases, it's because we've been hurt in our past. But I started this conversation by saying not all men are train wrecks, okay? There are a lot of good men out there. I know it can seem like that's not the case, especially if you've experienced one disappointing experience after another. But I invite you to now look inward and say, what did you learn from each experience? If we can look at every past relationships from a place of what positive things about myself did I learn in this experience? How have I healed from my past in these experiences? And also, what was good about each experience and what am I most grateful for? Because when you can come at it from a place of empowerment, you're going to start stepping into what I'm about to share today. So I've interviewed hundreds of men who are in happy relationships, people that are in love, the type of man that will want to give you everything. And you know what they seem to say? They all have this in common. Their relationship felt like home, They were calm with this person. They could be their genuine self and they were at peace with this person. Peace meaning P-E-A-C-E, not a piece of pie, but emotional peace, okay? At peace. So I've created an acronym that I'm going to invite you all to step in because these are the green flags that makes a man or woman want to dive deeper into a relationship. And why I said this is true for men and women alike, because this embodies that self-love conversation I started at the beginning of this broadcast. So we have an acronym called PEACE, and the P stands for positive possibilities, This is also known as beginner's mind. See, this is where a lot of people struggle because if we haven't done the inner work to heal from our past relationships, to heal from our childhood, if we haven't done some work in that area, I mean, in other words, if you've done zero work, it's going to be difficult to have beginner's mind because you have so much programming, so many experiences that it's affecting how we operate with this new person, oftentimes with judgment towards that new person, with projections towards that new person. Now, it's understandable to take all of our past experiences and process them like I shared earlier. It is healthy to look at all your past experiences as data to prepare yourself for someone new. But if we go into a new relationship expecting the worst, without that beginner's mind, then we oftentimes sabotage a potentially good relationship. If you haven't read the book, The Four Agreements. And by the way, there's a new book called The Fifth Agreement. By the way, if you haven't read The Four Agreements and the fifth book, or the Fifth Agreement, I highly recommend checking this out, because one thing we have a propensity to do is project onto new people our past experiences. So the positive possibilities, the P in peace, is a way to step in. And in other words, you can't blame this new person for your past experiences. I know it's hard to do. It's because we can have so much residue from our past. It's difficult to lean into this. This is one of the most critical aspects of entering into the dating marketplace. And the sad reality is we human beings lie to ourselves, oftentimes believing that we're ready, even when deep down we're not. In fact, oftentimes what happens is we enter into a new relationship believing that we're ready. And this new relationship can trigger our stuff that cause us to pull back, to disappear, to ghost, to put up walls up. Okay. Hey, it's 11:11 right now. Okay, the E in P stands for embrace the present moment. Embrace the present moment. Just like in the book, The Four Agreements, getting ahead of ourselves is oftentimes what happens instead of just accepting what is in the moment. I've seen so many women do this, and men do this as well. I mean, how many men in the beginning of a first date go, oh my God, you're so amazing. You're so wonderful. I could see us traveling together. I could see us getting married. I could see the future with you. Well, certainly they're embracing the excitement, the lust, and limerence in the present moment, but you haven't built the deep roots of trust in the present moment either. So while certainly appreciating the high is one thing, but getting ahead of yourself before trust has been built, before real love has been built, is a problem many humans have in the dating marketplace today. I was coaching a friend of mine about a year ago. She met this man online, and he was long distance, and she thought he was the one. I think they spent like 40 days communicating every night via Zoom. And oh my God, this is so amazing. It's so wonderful. He flew out to go visit her. And within 48 hours, he was buying a ticket to go back home. She was like so ahead of herself. He was so ahead of herself. They didn't even meet at this point. Embracing the present moment requires an understanding that, to some degree, it's very difficult. We have to be open to the possibilities, that positive possibilities, but detached from the outcome. And it's so hard to do that when we have the chemicals of dopamine flying through our body. But to be objective, I think to operate from your head first, your heart second, and your hormones third. And it seems like this is my friend Laura House shared this with me. Head, heart, hormones. We oftentimes do it the other way around. Hormones first, then then heart, and then our head says, no, no, no. Again, embracing the present moment is starting with your head, then your heart, and then hormones. Now, the A stands for accept yourself. That comes back to the self-love piece. Self-love is really so self-love is self-worth, self-esteem, self-confidence, self-reliance. Self-love is recognizing that we all have a little in a 6-year-old inside of us, an inner 6-year-old that is scared. And self-love is embracing the little kid that's inside of us, that little kid that also gets excited because it's Christmas and I want to open my present. Self-love is the adult navigating the 6-year-old that either gets scared or gets excited too fast. Self-love is work. I mean, again, my book is a simplistic version of it, but it's about unpacking our lives from an emotional level and operating from an introspective perspective. Introspective also is self-awareness. Self-awareness is an awareness of our fears, our insecurities, our doubts, our limiting beliefs, and being objective about it versus being in the quagmire of it to operate from an objective place. That's self-love. Now, man will want to give you everything, and these are amazing green flags when you operate from a place of certainty. You know, these days I've noted, and certainty is your actions consistently matching your words, being available for the dating process. I'm going to tell you something. I've noticed a lot of women, their actions don't match their words, just like men don't. And they are inconsistent in the dating process. If you're going to put yourself out there, then operate from a place of consistency. But Jonathan, I have a busy life. I don't have time to date. I can only give myself 1 hour a week for dating. And I'm being a little rhetorical here, but many of you aren't even, if you want to create, peace, if you want to create a green flag with a person, be consistent, be available, and make sure your actions match your words. You desire that from a man, and yet many of you are not operating from the same place. And so you wonder why they don't return a phone call, why they ghost, why they disappear. Believe it or not, many of you are the contributing factors to those men ghosting and disappearing because you don't make yourself available for a relationship. And I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little judgmental there, but I've witnessed, by the way, many of you ladies complain about men, but do you really look in the mirror and say, I'm a contributing factor to this as well? Create certainty, because a man will want to give you everything. When your actions match your words, you're consistent and certain. Okay. And lastly, I call it engage the fun. To be playful, to be flirty, to be sexy. I mean, the whole point of romantic relationship is about play. It's about flirting. It's about sex. I mean, yes, it's about partnership and teamwork, but at the same time, and I'm going to tell you, a lot of women have resting bitch face. Is that a bad word? Resting. In other words, you're operating from that bitter, jaded, sad space. And without, if you're operating from that place, then it requires just nurturing that little kid inside of you that wants to be playful, that wants to be flirty, that wants to be sexy to another human being. This is not for the faint of heart, this inner work. But I promise you, when you can embrace peace, that positive possibilities, embracing the moment, accepting yourself, certainty, and engaging the fun, these are green flags that will make a man want to give you everything. And as I said before, good men do exist. I promise you they do. It just requires embracing it for yourself. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know. If it is, I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery, where you can have direct access to me on a regular basis for just $20 a month. You can